MuniCode on these
I got that shot.
No, just
And I did that. And they're paying me in shot. And that was
Someone's lost the territory. We're not really sure. They got a caller, a very old caller.
exit the building. She's out of here.
Tribal, but not very far. Already? Okay, I'm gonna call to order the Rolesville Town Board regular meeting, January 7th, 2020. Appreciate all that came. Like we got a good turnout, so thank you very much for that. We're gonna start off pledge of allegiance and then invocation, and Tyler Williams will lead us in that.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let us pray. God, we give you thanks for the gift of this day, for the gift of a new year. Your mercies are new, but your faithfulness and your love remain as strong as ever. We thank you for the gift of community. We ask your blessing upon these servants, upon our town. Guide and direct them as they make decisions, that your kingdom might come in Rolesville as it is in heaven. All these things we pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Reverend Williams. Appreciate that. Our first order is consideration and approval of the agenda. I hear any discussion or motion on that?
I make a motion to approve. Is it both the consent and the regular?
This is just the agenda. Just the regular agenda.
Okay, I make a motion that we move item number 5 on the regular agenda up to the first item on the regular agenda.
Okay, I hear a motion to approve the agenda with the revision of moving item 5 to item 1. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. I got a motion, a second. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
And there are no no's, so thank you very much. This is the time that we do public comment. Individual that wishing to be heard on non-agenda items are requested to sign up on the sheet provided. I do have, let's see, about 5 names. I'll recognize you during the public comment section of the meeting, and we're going to try to limit to 3 minutes. I'm not going to time you on that, but let's try to limit if we can, so everybody can participate this evening. So the first one on there is Mr. Bryant West. If you would come up, state your name and also your address, if you don't mind.
My name is Bryant West, 401 Virginia Water Drive. Good evening, everyone. I come before you tonight to ask you to please appoint April Sneed for the open seat. When I look at the board, I see a lot of experience all across the board, from real estate, construction, HR, policies, and procedures. But I think what would really benefit the board is an expert in finance. That way, we'll have someone that knows the numbers and will be able to help the establishment make critical decisions. And also, she will be able to be another voice that's easily approachable, very likable, and be able to help the town basically make the right decisions with some of the things that we do. So one of the things that I would like to say is, not only is she very approachable and easy to talk to, she is very likable as well and works well with others. So during my time, I've been in Rolesville for 12 years, I've never heard anything but good things about April. So I would like you to please consider her for the open seat. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. West. Peter, I think you're next. State your name and address.
Peter Berkner, 621 Long Melford. I promised I'd keep this short. I will. I'm here also to recommend April for the open seat. I've known her for the last couple of years, and with her working through the Chamber of Commerce as well as where she is now as working on her financial advisory with Junary Financial in Wake Forest, I believe that she would be a great asset to not only this town, but also to all of us that have that may need an impact like that on us on our outlying areas. So I think she would be a great asset to all of us, and that seat, I think she would look really good in that seat to bring what is needful and necessary for us to keep going forward in the future. Thanks.
Thank you, Peter. Appreciate that. Next on the list, is it Leah? I think it's Leah. Stillman, state your name and address, if you don't mind.
Leah Steelman, 446 Shady Willow Lane. All right. Good evening, friends and neighbors. I'm a local friend of April Sneed, who is presently being considered to fill a vacancy as the Town of Rolesville Commissioner. And I'm thrilled to share a few words about her and the tremendous value she will bring to our community. I've known April since 2010. We are neighbors in the Granite Crest subdivision and also have children that are friends and classmates. In those years, our dealings with each other have been many, and each one has been a real pleasure. She looks out for her own and for everyone else's too. As they say, it takes a village. April embodies this old adage. On a personal level, I can see April to be someone on whom I can rely always and trust wholeheartedly. On a more professional level, April is as good as they come. She is sharp, level-headed, a forward thinker, and I trust that those qualities will be an asset to the town. She has vision and she has stamina. She is hardworking and true. I gladly raise my hand in support of April Sneed for Town of Rolesville Commissioner. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Melissa. Where's Melissa? Melissa,
Good evening. My name is Melissa Elliott, and I live at 605 Vigo Court. And I'm also here to represent or to ask for the open seat in behind April Sneed. I've known April for many, many years here in the Rolesville area and in different capacities. So I think that she is a very professional person. I think she's easy to talk to. I think she's very approachable. I think her experience in finance could be a big, huge benefit to the town of Rolesville in terms of helping the town of Rolesville as we grow to be fiscally responsible in our decisions. I think her being an active member of the Chamber of Commerce for years is also very beneficial in the fact that she knows the area well. She knows a lot about the community and has a lot of support and knowledge of people in the area. I just think that from what I know of her in many, like I said, in differing capacities, I've always seen her to have a lot of integrity and to be someone that is could benefit the board in a huge way. So thank you for your time.
Listen. The last one is Larry. Is it Graves? Larry?
Zeb. Yeah, Larry Grzib, through 6 Bendemeer Drive, or Bendemeer Lane. My comment is about the approval process that we went through on the Carlton Point townhouses. And the last meeting I was here when the approval was made, and the architect was sitting here, and the developer was sitting here, and the realtor Mr. Allen was sitting here promising that if this was approved, that no trees would be removed. Well, you know, I have some before and after pictures of what my backyard looks like. And I'm originally from West Virginia, and now when you look out off of my back deck, it looks like a strip mine has gone through there. All the trees were removed. We were supposed to have a 35-foot buffer on our side, and then another 15 feet on their side. And Mr. Allen stood right here and said no trees would be removed, and the architect sat with him, and Skip Davis, the developer, sat right with him, and they agreed to that. And then when this starts happening, I call the city, and nobody does anything. All so-and-so's in the meeting, we can't do anything. I did talk to one person, and I said, well, why don't you go out there and stop it until they get this thing straightened out? And nobody did anything. So as a consequence, we have no trees. We have maybe one or two left in our backyard. So this was approved. Those trees were not supposed to be touched, and they were all torn down. We've got some other neighbors here too that can verify that. And if anybody wants to see the before and after pictures, I've got them on my cell phone. I don't understand how the people can trust this city if you let something like this happen. And how can we trust developers? How can we trust realtors or architects that promise this or promise that on future projects, or the city itself, when they sit here and make a promise to you, and the next thing you know, there's bulldozers ripping your trees down behind your house.
Are you saying they took trees off of your property?
No, off the 35-foot
Off
buffer.
the buffer, okay, I understand.
But they promised they wouldn't touch those. And they're just gone. And several neighbors called the city. Nothing was done. Nobody bothered to get up and go take a look at what was going on. Well, we notified the developer, one person told me. Well, that doesn't mean anything. The developer's in New York. Somebody needs to get up off their seat and go over there and see what was going on and work it out until the trees are bent. Well, I'm sure if they violated the order, then they'll have to replace them. Well, how are you going to replace 50 or 60-foot pine trees in your backyard or in your behind your property? So that's my comment. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate your comment. Now, I think I was aware of this last night, and you may have been aware of it earlier yesterday. So
After the fact.
After the fact, that's right. So, you know, we are, I talked to the manager today, we are going to do some follow-up. You know, like you said, you can't put them back, but, you know, I have to say my memory is probably similar to yours. So, you know, we're going to do some follow-up and see where we're at and what we can do. So I've heard the comments from a couple of your neighbors already, and we appreciate you bringing it to us. Okay, there's no other names on the sign-up sheet, but I will take any others that want to speak.
I think
So
we have a
come up,
couple.
State your name and address if you would.
My name is Nicole Feeser, 403 Shore Hills Lane. Mr. Curran and Miss Medley, we've spoken. I'm here to formally, with Mr. Grzib, make the same complaint. In the March 2019 meeting, the special use permit rezoning for the townhomes at Carlton, they all sat here and said two very important points that I think offered comfort for my neighbors, certainly myself. And based on the body language of the people that were in that meeting, y'all sat back like, I think we're okay. So I can't read your minds, I did read your body language. When no trees were gonna be touched, and they even went as far to say, well, there's a natural ditch that delineates the property line, so we're not gonna go past that natural ditch. Well, on January 2nd at about 9:30 in the morning after everybody went to work, right? They've been out there for weeks. I watched them carefully roll up the boundaries, and all of a sudden the trees started falling, right? To the point that in order to get a mortgage on my house, special things had to happen in order for the drainage to be approved, right? This wasn't just my mortgage, anybody to get a mortgage on the house. And I watched them, I tried. The police were called, please don't bulldoze this. because you're going to back the water up into my house. And guess what happened when it rained on Friday and Saturday night? So I have lots of pictures now of my yard flooded, right? They stood here under oath, Mr. Jim Allen, Mr. Davis, under oath with this town council, and specifically said no trees were going to be touched. That was not, I talked to your town planner, Mr. Johnson. He said, well, that didn't actually make it into the special use permit order. Somebody should be held accountable for that. So under oath in this meeting, we were told no trees were going to be touched. So the neighbors backed off. We disengaged the lawyer. We're not going to fight this. We're going to be comfortable with this. Under oath, that was stated. It did not make it into the special use permit order, according to Mr. Johnson. Who is accountable for that? That's one. Two, right? You guys approved the engineering. Well, here's what we're about to face so that we're all on the same page. I have the same guy that came to evaluate my house to get my mortgage. We had the same appraiser come out in October of 2019, and we're having the same appraiser come out. He was supposed to be out today, but it rained, right? We're going to have the appraisal done on my house now again. I was told by Mr. Allen, as you were, that my house would go up in value. There is no chance. I have no trees left. I look at piles of dirt. I look at rubble. Everything was taken down, 35 feet of trees. I hope that this council will hold the people that said under oath, no, this isn't going to happen. This isn't going to affect the people at Carlton Point. I truly hope you will hold them accountable. Because you were lied to, I feel that we were all played. And we do need to get into the bottom of who did not put that into the special use permit order so that we, the homeowners that live here already, were impacted to this degree. And that's what I'm asking of this town council today. Thank you.
Thank you, Nicole. Like I said, I think I did talk to you earlier today. And
For another one.
you want to follow up on 20 more?
Yeah.
Go right ahead.
You have 2 more.
Derek Bryant and 302 Bendemeer. Both of my neighbors have already stated their piece. They pretty much said both sides of it. You know, my biggest thing is I'm not sure at what point they did the survey and where my yard suddenly shrunk about 5 feet. But, you know, much to echo where they were, I suddenly had people in my backyard. I had guys being belligerent to my neighbors, yelling at them. I've now got no trespassing signs banged into my trees facing my house. Like, this whole thing has been 100% everything we were afraid of happening is exactly what's happened. On top of that, last time I was here, she's right. We completely backed off. I spoke with the engineers. They assured me they were going to add the buffer. They were even adding more pine trees in just to make sure that there was an extra buffer there and they wouldn't be knocking everything out. Not at all. I mean, it's pretty obvious they gave no consideration to anything that has been said in these meetings. And I even went back and pulled the minutes today. I forgot them, unfortunately, with my counters. I was on a rush hour way out here. But it said in the meetings, no trees would be touched. Your property would not be encroached upon. Everything was going to stay the same. We wouldn't have to worry about any of the drainage. Meanwhile, they literally rolled in 3 days and wrecked everything behind our house. So I kind of echo them in saying, can somebody please come out there, take a look at what they're doing, look at everything they've done, what they're bulldozing and plowing down. They do have the drop in elevation that they said they were going to put in there, but it's literally just chunking the side of our backyards up and clearing everything out. And that's 100% what we stood here and fought against, and they swore would not happen. So, like I said, I just wanted it on record. I want to echo my neighbors in saying someone needs to come out there and make sure that anything with development is good. And if they're in my yard and they're hanging signs up and putting fence and black and orange, like, it's literally a construction site in our backyard right now, which is ridiculous. There's orange tape everywhere, and, you know, guys are just, they don't care. And they've literally yelled at my neighbors. Luckily, I had not been there. My wife, you know, let me know about it. Nicole let me know about it. But had I seen that, it's going to get ugly. It's not fair. It's not nice, and, you know what I mean, that's not what we signed up for. So I just wanted it on record. I appreciate it.
Mr. Mayor, what can we do tonight to say to these people, to assure them that somebody's going to be held accountable?
Yeah, Kelly and I talked about it earlier today, and this is good record. I appreciate you guys coming in. You know, this is all being recorded, so, you know, we got good records of that, so I appreciate that. And and I don't know if you scheduled or not, but we're gonna schedule a meeting with the two developers that sat in here and said that, Kelly and myself, just the two of us, will meet with them and face to face.
I suggest you have the contractor too, because there's gonna be finger pointing.
I know, but we want to hold the ones that said it responsible first, so that's kind of where we're going with it. We're gonna follow up on some of these clarities on this other stuff too, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got two people.
Gentleman back there.
Somebody else want to speak, you have to come up and give your name and address if you don't mind.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Thomas Brent Willard. I live at 250 Bendermere Lane. It's adjacent to Short Hills Lane. So my property doesn't directly back up to the rest of the homes on Bendermere that's adjacent to the new property that's being developed. But from a visual standpoint, just wanted to say that I'm far enough away that it's not directly backing up to my property line, but I can still see all that's going on. And yeah, it's sad that that whole area, I couldn't see any of that field at all, and now it's completely open. You can even see out to the highway out there. So with the 15-foot extended buffer that they were talking about, it just didn't make any sense to cut down evergreen trees that were already there just to turn around and plant more vegetation. So I think that whatever meeting discussion needs to be, because it can't replace those type of trees, would be to see and to inform us what they plan to do to put back in that 50-foot barrier that they basically cut down. You know, we'd hope to see that they can get in as tall as trees they can, and a type of trees, vegetations that will be able to grow up to help block the view that was now, you know, it's just now been opened up. So just want to go on the record as well.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah. And I know one of the other things, Jackie, to kind of expand on it is, you know, just from our experience, you know, this afternoon really with you guys, it appeared to me the communications is very poor of what y'all are being communicated. And that's one of the things we're going to assure that we'll address with them is, you know, y'all need to be better informed of what's coming, what they're getting ready to do, and that kind of thing. And it doesn't sound like to me that's happening. Very poor communication with the neighbors out there. So anybody else want to speak, come up and give me a name.
It's Jonathan Patrick, 403 Short Hills Lane. I won't belabor the point as far as the lost trees. I think that point has been made thoroughly. I believe it was you, Mr. Wilson, who said, you know, what can this town do? I do actually have some suggestions as to what the town can do in the immediate. I'm not a lawyer. I can't quote it word for word, but I believe the town ordinance, as far as sound as noise ordinance is concerned, says that for general construction can begin no earlier than 7 o'clock in the morning. For construction using, quote, heavier techniques, and I believe it says such as blasting, that starts at 9 o'clock. I would firmly believe that this qualifies as a heavier construction technique. We don't need the bulldozers out there at 7 o'clock in the morning. On top of that, just a comment on just kind of the class of equipment that's being used and the proximity to our houses that it is operating. Honestly, if there had been communication as far as here's what we're going to do, here's what we're doing it with, and here's where we're going to be, I would have had my house inspected. It would not surprise me if there has been some settling going, our house is literally vibrating. If you're in, my wife works at home. She's in the home all day long. If you're inside our house now, there's this constant low hum. The walls are literally vibrating. That's what we're living with because the equipment is that heavy and it is that close. So I would suggest two things. They can start no earlier than 9 o'clock in the morning. This needs to apply as heavier construction techniques. On that same scale, I believe there should be they need to use lighter equipment. I mean, our house is literally vibrating. So again, I'll be amazed if there hasn't been some settling on at least some of our houses, but who would know? Because no one thought to have our houses inspected before this began. The other thing that bothers me visually, and we all have pictures and we can forward any pictures that you want. I'll show you one picture real quick. This was taken, my back is against my fence. Okay, there's the land between my property and the property being developed is part of our community. It ultimately belongs to the homeowners.
Right.
This is where my children play.
Common area.
This is our neighborhood common area. This is where my kids play. Okay, whether it was out of spite or not, I don't know, but there's ironically, a tree protection fence after removing all the trees. So the common area of our neighborhood, property which is not part of this development, is being denied access. Oh, sorry. Is being denied access to us. And there's dozens of no trespassing signs taken. I'll be perfectly honest, I took ours down. The ones that are directly behind my house, I took down. I returned to them. Because I'm not going to sit at my dinner table looking at a no trespassing sign behind my fence. I think the request should be, let's be honest, the concept of a tree protection fence in this is now laughable. It is an eyesore on top of an eyesore. I think a polite request should be made that I don't think that fence is necessary.
Mr. Mayor, may I direct a question to the town attorney?
Let them finish and then we'll.
Okay.
I think that's pretty much fine. The rest of the comments about what we were promised have already been, I think, made in spades. I could mirror those comments, but you know, we've already heard that. But I think I wanted to make the point that there's more than simply just the trees. That what we're dealing with, and the proximity that we're dealing with. I can't speak for the other people who live there, but our house literally hums now as you sit in the house, and it's just this constant.
Okay.
That's all.
Mr. Attorney.
Was there any more want to speak?
I just wanted to add in there as well, not to kind of echo his point. From the first day they started, it has seemed almost spiteful that, like I said, once they got belligerent with Nicole, and then ever since then, it's like everything they've done has been just as pure annoyance or to be spiteful in what they were doing. The excessive amounts of no trespassing signs, 2 different layers of bright orange construction barrier, like everything that's going on about this is literally just kind of a slap in the face to all of us because we voiced our opinion about the whole thing being done correctly. So I just wanted to kind of add that in there as well.
Gotcha. Thank you. Okay, Jack.
Mr. Attorney, these are serious accusations. Do we have the power to stop construction on this site until these accusations are researched and investigated?
The manager would like to respond to that as he's given it some thought, and I'd be happy to discuss it with you either now or in closed session relating to potential pending litigation.
Okay.
So the plans are very specific to maintain the 35-foot HOA border buffer. And then there's a opaque fence that's going to be built, and then another additional buffer beyond the fence. That's to be yet to be constructed and determined how much or what type of landscaping. They have given their proposal that was approved, but they have not specified how much. So our meeting with them will be about what they're going to do specifically. That's part of the ongoing conversation. But overall, they appears have met the purpose of what their development agreement was for. So we've been communicating. We did go on site. We did review. We've had a couple conversations with the developer. The mayor requested a meeting today. We've made that request. We can pull out the plans and make sure you have a copy and see that and understand it better. But at this point, unless the attorney has other thoughts or you give us direction, they are, from our appearance, in general compliance with what they're supposed to do. Whether they're doing it properly, courteously, or something like that is another matter. But within the realm of the constructability of the project itself, it does appear they are in compliance.
As you know, I live in Wall Creek. Back of Wall Creek, they are doing expansion of the mini storage there. People came to our house, foundation experts, and offered us free inspections before anything was done. I take it these people did not get that liberty.
That did not happen.
This is serious. Somebody's dropped the ball, and we've got to step up to the plate.
Mr. Wilson, in specific answer to your question in the hypothetical to me, yes, the town has the power to enjoin violations of the ordinance.
So I have a question for you. So with this conversation you're going to have tomorrow, will that still be enough, if necessary, to stop all work until we have our next meeting?
Well,
So are you requesting us to review to stop work before your next meeting for some purpose?
I am, because I do remember the conversation about the 35 foot. I remember that clearly.
Mm-hmm.
And I know I had asked something about the height of the trees, but it wasn't relevant right now to what they're talking about. But I know there was that conversation of 35 feet.
Mm-hmm. And that has been maintained. The HOA buffer is there. That's the 35 feet you're referencing, I believe.
But the buffer's maintained, but they haven't left it as is.
They have not constructed the balance of site plan, which was a fence and additional landscaping that's yet to come.
But what about the verbiage, the conversation that the majority of the people here heard about the trees were not going to be touched, but it didn't make it into the special use permit?
Your approval showed the buffer remaining per the HOA. Then it showed an opaque fence and an additional buffer after the fence.
But no
It
verbiage.
did not talk about existing trees on their property.
But that conversation was held, and they did say it. So it sounds like the town has some responsibility in this too.
I know what was finally approved by all of us, and what we approved was what I just described. And I believe at the time we felt it was adequate. Whether,
We did, but I
I don't know, I think there were feet of trees in there, obviously, that had been removed. But I don't know how much exactly. They probably know more than I do.
I think it was fulfilled, Kelly, but I do feel that the trees, although that conversation took place, was that in March?
It was March of 2019, Ms. Medley.
Okay.
It's on the town of Rolesville website. You can look at the meeting notes. And the words were spoken, no trees on that property would be touched because there was a natural ditch that delineated the property line.
I was gonna say,
They do not have the rights to touch the HOA land. So I kind of feel like I've gotten a little bit of a runaround too, but if we're all gonna be very legalese on this, when they spoke, we're not going to touch the trees. The only trees they were entitled to touch were the ones on their property.
Exactly.
They can't be touching the HOA trees. They can't be touching Mr. Gazib's trees either.
That's right.
And so there should
you're
be
right.
there's no
That's right.
opaqueness on what trees were being alluded to. The only ones they had access to were the ones on their property. And that is the problem that we are experiencing today.
And I think part of that problem also is because they are still in control of that HOA.
Joe?
Just to be clear,
Yeah.
yeah, they are. That's
so
yeah, anything else, Kelly, or David, anything else? Okay. Step up if you don't mind and finish up what you want to say.
just to read the exact minutes so everyone's on the same page. This is from the March meeting minutes. The trees will stay, and a 35-foot tree buffer was also added in addition to the 70 to 80-foot separation of the townhomes from the houses in Carlton Point development. So we were told not only would everything in that 35-foot range stay, but that it would be a total of 80 feet that would be in a buffer, and it says right here, the trees will stay.
And
That was all agreed upon by all parties as we sit here.
Yeah.
Just so we're clear.
Thank you. Yeah, I agree. It sounds like Jackie said. It sounds pretty serious. We need Kelly to figure it out. David, get involved if you don't mind. This is your first hearing, I think, right? First time. So, try to dig in. Let's move pretty quick on it. if we don't get quick responses back from the developer real quick, I know you tried to reach out to them today. Let's consider stopping until we have a meeting with them to figure out what's the deal. So, like I said, to finish it up, we won't solve anything tonight. To finish it up, I made a commitment to call you back anyway, Nicole. So I'll talk to you. Are you sort of the one that?
Well, I'm the pain in the you know what, so
Okay.
that's fine. So I do want to say one thing, because you guys do seem to be listening, and I'd like to say that I think we're all grateful. I do want to say, leave it on a positive note. So when Mr. Bulldozer Driver started with his vulgarities, and I've been called worse, but I will say the Rolesville police were fantastic. I mean, they were fantastic. They kind of put their foot down, like, we're not going into your neighborhood and saying horribly awful things. So as negative as this situation has been, I will say at every turn, you guys have responded. You're calling us back. When the vulgarities began that were just ugly, the police were fantastic. So it's not all ugly. So I do think that's important to note too, and we thank you for hearing us tonight, and the police were awesome as well.
Well, thank you, Nicole, for the comment. And like I said, whether you're the official HOA president, unofficial president, or whatever, we'll communicate back to you tomorrow on what we find out. But if you guys get your heads together in the morning, and let's kind of jump on it pretty quick to see what's happening here. Thank you, folks. Thank you for coming. Okay. Any other comments, real quick?
I guess just more of a question. Can we get any kind of feedback on, because my suggestion had been that, in my humble opinion, when I think of general construction, I'm thinking framing, I'm thinking maybe pouring some concrete, maybe some roofing. I'm not thinking of a large bulldozer.
Right.
So is there any kind of feedback? Is this what the town noise ordinance would consider to be heavier construction techniques? And so therefore their start time is, at least we can get the bone of 9 o'clock in the morning instead of 7 o'clock in the morning.
Wait, isn't it 8 o'clock though?
It's time to revisit that.
No, because I thought we talked and that was 8 o'clock and we were supposed to revisit that.
To answer your question, yes. We'll figure that out.
Look at it.
And so to answer your questions, yes. We'll make sure that the work that's being started early is proper.
Thank you.
And and we'll communicate that back to you too, Nicole. Okay? Thanks. All right. Any other topic, any public comment before we move on? Appreciate it. Thank you, guys. My sincere apology for it sounds like it started off to a rough start for a lack of a better term, and we'll see if we can get it somewhere where it needs to be. So, thanks. All right. Next item is introduction of new employees. Who's going to do that? Kelly, is that you or one of the?
I'm going to let JG do it because it's both his employees.
Okay. Good.
Mayor, Town Commissioners, thank you tonight. I'd like to introduce two new staff members to the Parks and Recreation Department. First, I'd like to introduce Kristen Stafford. She is a graduate of Western Carolina University with a degree in Hospitality and Tourism Management. She comes to us from Camp Lake James. That's located in Nebo, North Carolina, which is just outside of Hickory and Morganton. Up there, she provides programming and events to the residents of that area. So we're happy to have Kristen. She started a couple weeks ago, so we're excited to have her, and she's hit the ground running and got programs already going in January. So we're excited to have her and like to welcome her as a part of Rolesville. Also up here, we have Garrett Sony. He is a graduate from NC State University with a degree in Parks and Recreation Tourism Management. And his most recent employer was the city of Raleigh. So we're glad to get him over here from Raleigh. He's our athletic coordinator, so he's doing a great job. He's halfway through basketball season, and he's already started baseball, softball, and soccer registration. So he's been busy this week for sure already. So, but we're glad to have both of them, and they're hitting the ground running. So we're happy to have them both.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. I know Lake James is a beautiful lake, so it is. So Thanks for coming. I know when you say you hit the ground running, I saw that. I think the first day you was here, I ran into you and you was meeting with folks and stuff. So yeah, they hit the road running. So thanks both of you.
Welcome.
Welcome to Rolesville.
You won't be bored.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, JG. Consent agenda. All items on the consent agenda are considered routine and may be enacted with one motion. If a commissioner requests discussion on an item, we will remove that and consider it separately. So what's the recommendation of the board on that?
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
And I second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any additional discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
And there is no opposed, so thank you very much. Now for the regular business, we got a few items there. The first one is the one we'll move up, discussion and consideration of the process of filling the vacant commissioner's seat. So I think we heard some comments from the public earlier. I appreciate those comments from the public, and really there's not a defined process I want to use for this other than open it up for discussion on the board or either a motion or however you guys foresee to proceed. So what is the wish of the board on this?
Mr. Mayor, I would like to make a motion to appoint Ms. April Sneed to the town board as commissioner to fulfill the remainder of your commissioner seat of 2 years. Ms. Sneed is one of 5 candidates that competed in the November 2019 commissioner's race. During the campaign, Ms. Sneed took initiative to meet with town stakeholders and shared the knowledge gained during the Rolesville Chamber and the Heritage East community forums. In addition to being a resident of Rolesville for 14 years, Ms. Sneed also has an established history of leadership in Rolesville as the Rolesville Chamber Executive Director, who was instrumental in advancing the chamber to where it is today. Finally, Ms. Sneed demonstrates professionalism, enthusiasm, and commitment, as you've heard from some that testified earlier or spoke earlier, to Rolesville, which will serve as an asset not only to our board, but also to our town. So again, I'd like to make a motion to appoint Ms. April Sneed to the town board commissioner seat.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion, any additional discussion from anybody?
We would like to, staff has just clarification, it would be for the balance of this term. So
That's what
it'd
she
be through-
said.
yeah, you said 2 years, but it's the balance of this
For
term.
the remaining 2 years of the mayor's term.
Thank you very
The
much.
previous mayor's
That's
term,
right.
or the previous commissioner's term.
Thank you.
Sorry about that.
To clarify again, the appointment would be until the next election.
Yes.
So think about other circumstances we've had. It's just until the next election
Correct.
that would generally come up.
Correct.
Right.
Okay.
That's exactly right. Any other discussion? I think David, you weren't here last meeting, but Clyde was here, Clyde Holt, and he gave us pretty good direction and gave the board good direction on how they should proceed, and I think they followed that and worked hard so far. From a legal standpoint, is it anything keeping us from making the decision on this motion that's been presented?
Well, I hope this is consistent with my senior partner's advice, but no, the general statutes provide very little guidance to councils and commissioners as to how they want to conduct the appointment for vacancies. And so bringing the motion, having that seconded and approved, is entirely fine.
Thank you, Dave. Okay, one last call for discussion. If no discussion, all in favor say aye.
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 And there was no opposed that I counted. Is that, you got the same count? Thank you, Madam Clerk. All right. I may put you on the spot here, April Sneed. Is there anything you would like to say? Anything at all?
This is putting me on the spot.
I just want to say thank you all very much. I appreciate it. I appreciate your time. Each of you taking the time to speak with me and letting me share. But I am excited. I thank you very much. I'm very excited about fulfilling the remainder of the term until the next election, to get in there and do what I can for the town of Rolesville, my fellow citizens. Thank
Great.
you so much. I appreciate it. I look forward to it.
Well, thank you. Thank you for stepping up and doing it. So I appreciate that. And next step that we have, like the first step, there really is no process, formal process for it. But what we're going to do is have the first thing on the agenda on the 21st, which is 2 weeks from tonight, which you would take the oath. You have the discretion of who you want to swear you in, if you have a preference. If not, our clerk will provide somebody.
Okay.
And also, any Bible you want to use to do that. Was it a third thing that she could have a opinion on?
That well covers it.
That well covered it. Okay. So invite friends. Maybe
invite friends.
Yeah,
Friends
get
and
a
family.
chance to invite friends. Maybe that was the third one I was trying to think of in my mind there. So you got 2 weeks. In that transition, the town staff is open to you, so you can meet with Kelly for a little transition if you need to, and so you'll be ready. But the 21st, we're going to put it first on the agenda.
All right. Paul, Michelle, Ronnie, Sheila, Jackie, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Okay.
Thank you. And I don't know what we call it. We call her commissioner-elect or commissioner-nominee or commissioner whatever. Yeah.
Just call me April. Just call me April.
Just call her April.
But
You have 2 weeks to figure it out.
2 weeks to figure it out. But thanks, guys. Appreciate it, board. Appreciate you coming together, working together, coming up with a good decision on that. So thanks for your hard work there. Public hearing case, A19-02 Forestville Road Investors LLC voluntary annexation. This is going to be presented by the staff first.
Actually, we're going to do old number one.
Okay.
Old number 1?
Old number one, okay. Yeah, you've been waiting, all right. This is a presentation from the League Law Enforcement Risk Review for our Rolesville Police Department. So it's all yours, thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Appreciate it. Mr. Mayor, appreciate it. Fellow council members, town staff, and Rolesville citizens, welcome you this evening. My name is Matthew Selves. I am the Director of Public Safety Risk Manager for the North Carolina League of Municipalities. Thank you again, and board, this time I'm recognizing your police department for completing the North Carolina League's Law Enforcement Risk Review program. A little bit of history on the risk review. The risk review involves a comprehensive agency review of high-risk policies, operations, and practices, and includes a detailed on-site agency review, which I completed last month, including equipment, facility inspection, officer interviews, observations of operations, all to validate the practices align with policies and in turn with the industry's best practices. We specifically look at these high-risk liability areas within the department that consist of police pursuits, use of force, stop and frisk, employee practices, training, in addition to many more. All in all, it's 39 categories that we do look at that are high risk within police departments. The review is supported by the North Carolina Police Chiefs Association, and I'm proud to report this evening that the Rolesville Police Department has successfully completed the law enforcement risk review process for the League. The chief and staff members prioritized this initiative and made this process a department priority. The chief was very proactive and involved, and I worked directly with Detective Johnson from the start to the completion. Detective Johnson's dedication to the department and profession is evident in the review program. I want to personally thank Chief Soto and all the staff for their leadership and their willingness to participate in this very important initiative. They were very open and transparent during the whole process. I myself have spent over 23 years in law enforcement, 12 years as a chief myself, in the town of Troutman in Iredale County near Lake Norman, and have additionally worked in numerous other agencies across the state. The officers that I worked with and observed demonstrate a high level of commitment to your community and in best practices, enhance professional policies, and to positively impact your community and your relationships with your community. Once again, I'd like to congratulate Chief and his department for a job well done, and they're a great asset to this town, as I heard earlier. It's a great thing to hear. That's why you're batting 1,000 tonight. And again, thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, and I'd like to present this plaque to the Chief and his department and for the town. Recognizes the Rolesville Police Department for completing the law enforcement risk management review, proactively serving the community in a professional manner and taking steps to minimize risks to our citizens and officers, presented on this date, January 7th, 2020. Congratulations, Chief. Get some pictures afterwards, but he wants to say a few words.
Good evening, Mayor, Board of Commissioners, Madam Clerk, Town Attorney, Mr. Arnold, community members. One of the most used quotes that was instilled into me at a young age by my parents was, "If it was easy, everyone would do it." I constantly share that quote with departmental personnel when we have to face adversity and when objectives must be met. We have to push to constantly strive for excellence in all that we do, and being mediocre is not an option. The men and women of the Rolesville Police Department constantly answer the bell, even when they know that it is not going to be easy. Tonight's recognition is a testament to their hard work, dedication, and commitment to the incorporation of best practices. Captain Simmons, please stand. Lieutenant Holloway, Lieutenant Haynes, Sergeant Myers, Detective Johnson, and Administrative Specialist Inclon. They were all extremely instrumental in the successful outcome of this risk review, and I'm honored to serve with them and all the members of the organization. I commend them for their efforts, their selfless service, and their dedication in continuing to make Rolesville a place that is safe to live, work, and play. Take a bow. Thank you.
Again, this is a plaque for Chief to hang up in the front office area of the department, and for everybody to see, for the community to see. And again, it's an honor. It was. This is actually my second one, and they made the process so smooth. It's just great, and we're moving on to the next. So.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Congratulations. Let's get some. Mayor, let's get a picture. Can I take a picture, please?
Picture. You want me to take it? Be in it? Be in it. Good.
We'll get everybody. I got a few too.
I think I was wrong. That is correct. Are we ducking down or are we standing up?
Oh, we're intentionally getting.
All right. One more for luck.
David, so
we'll see.
I'm gonna be very biased when I say this, but I think we have one of the best police departments in the Wake County towns. I know I experienced talking to a lot of the other municipalities, and I don't know. There's a lot of ways you can gauge a a police department. You can gauge them by, you know, the stats, you know, the crime stats and all those things, which we have good stats, very good stats. But I think another way to gauge is the sort of the morale and what I would call the retention of the work group. And we got great retention. You know, when we get people hired, we keep them. And I think that says a whole lot for, I know, the chief and the leadership there. So I know I'm biased when I say that, but great job, and just pass that along, Kelly, when you see him. So appreciate that. All right. Now the number 2 item on the agenda is public hearing case A19-02 Forestville Road Investors LLC voluntary annexation, and I think staff will present that first.
Thank you, Mayor. And this is an voluntary annexation of 3800 Foxwell Lane, and let me do a quick correction on the memo that I prepared for you very quickly after returning here. The acreage noted on there is incorrect. I actually, by mistake, picked up on one parcel of the acreage. It says 3 acres and something. The actual acreage, and it's included in the legal description, is 14.719. So whoever makes that motion and includes that in there would state that, or if you wish to take that off, that's fine. It's not critical. But I want to make it clear that we discovered after the agenda went out and doing the PowerPoint today that I made an error in the acreage.
How many acres?
14.719.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So I want to go ahead and make that clear. And that's the full entire tract. We have received a voluntary petition for the property outlined in red. This is the area right here. And in its location, this is Forestville Road, and this is, of course, the existing town limits of Rolesville, which is a satellite known as Stonewater. The property is located between the town limits, and this shaded area with the green slash is the town limits of Wake Forest. This boundary here is the urban service area agreement between Rolesville and Wake Forest. And this area is within that area, so therefore Rolesville is eligible for acceptance of a voluntary annexation as agreed upon by that boundary line for urban services that includes annexation. Currently, the access is Foxwell Drive. It's a private road that runs along pretty close to this boundary line. But the long term, as you may recall from our preliminary plats and development plans and et cetera, is development of this into a subdivision called the Regency at Heritage. And you may recall that that's been done. We're moving on construction drawings as we speak to get approval. Currently, the nearest access is Teague Street here in Stonewater, and that will continue. And then it also, in the future, will cross over into the town of Wake Forest and continue on towards the Heritage development and connect to these streets as well, because they have another development that the developer can tell you. But this is just annexation to this portion. Sorry, wrong one. So I just wanted to show at this point the official annexation boundary map, which is that same area described here. And this is Stonewater, this is Wake Forest, this is that private drive, and Teague Street's right here. So this constitutes the description and the ordinance that if you wish to adopt after holding the public hearing. And with that said, Mayor, you may proceed with conducting your public hearing on this question of annexation.
Okay, and we can ask Danny any questions before we open up. Any questions for Danny? Danny, can you look and see if anybody signed up for this public hearing?
I actually do not see any names, no sir.
Okay. Any
But
questions?
there might be somebody in the audience who may speak.
Any questions for Danny before he sits down?
Stay here.
Pretty straightforward.
I understand that. You say it's across the street from Stonewater?
It connects to Stonewater.
It's beside it.
It's beside. This is Stonewater right here, as I'm outlining on the screen. This is Stonewater, and this is Teague Street, and this is adjacent to it. It won't be called Stonewater, but it is the Regency at Heritage, which is a similar name for the other side in Wake Forest. similar to like Heritage East, we have portions in Wake Forest and a portion in Rolesville.
Gotcha.
Okay. All right. Well, I open up the public hearing. Danny said no one signed up, but I will take any comments if somebody want to come up and make one. State your name, address, please, if you don't mind, for the record.
Good evening. It's Randy King with Pulte Group, 1225 Crescent Green Drive in Cary. We are the contract purchaser of this property, and as Danny mentioned, it has been through your rezoning and your preliminary plat process. We are processing the CDs, and upon your annexation, we hope to be able to move forward with the project. We're in support of the project, obviously, and if you have any questions, I'd be happy to try to address them. Thank you.
Any questions?
Sorry to refresh my memory, because you were here before, right?
Yes, ma'am.
You're back.
Both the rezoning and for the preliminary plat.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, we approved the plat, didn't we?
Yes.
Because he made some adjustments, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, just wanted to make sure. All
Yes.
right.
Yeah, this is one of the last steps in his annexation. Almost think it ought to be the first step, my opinion. I see the old mayor
Sometimes it
shaking his
is.
head back
Sometimes
there,
it is, yeah.
But this is one of the last steps. It's almost kind of formality. But anybody else want to speak? Thank you. Anybody else want to speak? If not, I'll close the public hearing. And I'll rest it with the board on action.
Mr. Mayor, I will make a motion to approve voluntary annexation of A 190102 Forestville Road Investors LLC for 14.719 acres located at 3800 Foxwell Lane into the Rolesville town limits.
Okay, I hear a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second?
Second, yes.
All right, so I got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
I think it's unanimous again. Okay, very good. Thank you, guys. Next item on the agenda is public hearing case MA 19-3 A Master Team LLC. This is also legislative, so Dan, I'm gonna let you kind of present it first, and then we'll open up the public hearing.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mayor. Make sure I have all my stuff in front of me. This is a petition filed by A Master Team LLC to rezone a portion of 151 Grand Rock Way from Residential Plan Unit Development District to the Commercial Outlying Special Use District, COSUD. This area that portion includes, it's not the whole property, it's 4.38 acres. And here is the entire property. By the aerial, I didn't try to distinguish it. But this is that site owned by A Masters. And in the next slide, I'll show you the split of the property for the zoning. This is Grand Walk Way. This is Rogers Road. This is South Main Street. This is the Coffee Hut and the AutoZone. I think several of us are familiar with it, with the driveway in between. It's a private drive that comes into the property with an access easement that runs almost all the way along this red line back up to Rogers Road. And but the primary access to this property is Grand Walk Way. So it's all of this wooded area, but only a portion of this back portion over here that I'll show you with the next map is what is being rezoned from residential PUD to the commercial special use district. All right, so as I said, the next map on the left is the existing zoning. So you see that there's a split portion. The property in question in its entirety is this whole area, as I'm trying to outline here with a pointer. And you see that a portion of the property in the front is zoned commercial SUD, commercial outlying special use district. The area shown in the slashed line here is the area requested for the change to the same classification. So this, as I point out in the next slide, I think I put it in the text, is going to make, if you grant this, it'll become one zoning classification for the entire property. This is a situation of split zoning. And then over here on the right is the land use plan for the town of Rolesville. The entire area is identified with red, which is commercial use. And so therefore, the petition going to request commercial zoning with the commercial outlying special use district will be consistent. Is there any questions before I move on to this little bit of summary?
Confused. I have a question because I'm
Certainly.
confused.
Okay.
I thought I knew. So the red is what we're requesting?
The slashed area is the area zone. This is residential PUD. This is the zoning map. This is the land use map. The difference is this is the regulatory map. And this is what we're requesting to change. We're not changing anything on the land use plan because it's already the correct. It's currently commercial, which this change will bring it in to be consistent.
And so changing the zoning to the COCC?
Commercial SUD, as you see right here, is that zoning classification here for this portion of the property. And then we're adding this to it by this request.
Can you clarify for me what is SUD?
A special use district.
Special use, gotcha.
And that means all plans, everything has to go through a special use permit hearing.
Gotcha.
Okay?
Thank you.
Any questions before I want to make sure we're, okay.
I think we're good.
Thank you.
I think if I understand what you're saying, Danny, the land use map is acceptable already.
That's correct.
It just
Unless you found it different, but that's the current, it says it's consistent by this request. And that is a statutory requirement to be stated, whether it is or it isn't.
Right.
So as I summarized before, the property has split zoning. The rezoning request of this site is 4.38 acres currently located in the residential PUD district. The request is rezoned from the residential PUD district to the commercial outlying special use district. If approved, the zoning request would create a consistent zoning classification throughout the property. The whole property will be one zoning classification. It will no longer be split. The future land use map adopted in 2017 classifies this parcel for commercial use. The requested zoning district is a commercial use classification and is consistent with the 2017 comprehensive plan. And again, I've already summarized for you. Let me move that pointer there. Primary access is Grand Walk Way. That's a residential, that's a thoroughfare collector. And there is a recorded private maintenance access drive between Coffee Lodge and AutoZone businesses that are located on that drive off the South Main Street to the rear portion of the property.
So clarifying on bullet number 2, it says the requested zoning district is a commercial use classification.
Yes. That's a zoning district that's commercial use classification.
But I thought we were trying to make it residential.
That will come through in a request for a special use permit under the district.
That's confusing. Okay, I got you.
Yes, it is. And this is not part, it's not part of your change today.
I got you. Thank you.
Okay? It's come in later. And if you can still just rezone this commercial and not make a decision on this separate.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Okay? There is no, the 2002 thoroughfare plan calls for no street improvements on the site when developed because you already have sidewalks and curb and gutter and already existing. There is no traffic TIA requirement because it did not meet the thresholds. Thresholds is did not generate more than 100 vehicles in peak hour, morning or afternoon, or 1,000 daily. It is less than that, even though it didn't trigger it with the uses. It would have to, we'd have to see what uses come in. In most cases, it could trigger it when that's evaluated by a site plan more specific. But from the general classification, it did not.
Jenny, where were they posted at?
Excuse me?
Where were they posted at when they did the traffic study?
The general rule is you go with the various uses and does it triate that. It depends on the scale and size of a project that possibly could hit that threshold, but we wouldn't know that until there's a more detailed site plan. But right now, for the zoning case, there's no requirement for a traffic impact analysis because of the magnitude. When we've done some of those big PUDs, it was obvious when you did the rezoning, it needed a traffic impact analysis, and of course it was done with other developments in there. Applicant has held a neighborhood meeting on November 13th on 2019, and I believe a transcript and information is provided in your agenda packages. I think there were some comments, but they were more specific to the site plan than it was now I wasn't there. I must apologize. I was not there. I was out, as you know, but I think there's something more to the specifics of the site plan, not the zoning case. But again, you have the documentation to review.
There were 3 people that showed up for that, right?
Yeah.
Based off the information in the packet,
Right.
yes.
At the neighborhood meeting. At
At the neighborhood meeting.
Yep.
Yes. So the planning board voted unanimously to recommend to the Town Board of Commissioners to approve the request of MA 1903 as presented. I think they also included in there that the request was consistent with the Rolesville comprehensive plan for this property being used commercial, and its request is a commercial zoning classification that makes it consistent. Planning staff recommendation is to approve the rezoning request and the resolution statement of consistency that's in your packet. Any other questions? And I'll finish, and you may open the public hearing.
I mean, I have specific questions for this, but I don't know if it'll pertain to what you're doing right now.
Okay.
The one question is the throughfare with the road access to it once it's developed. I don't know if that goes with the zoning or not. The road's going to go by the coffee lodge.
Yes.
Okay.
Generally, and I'll let our town attorney comment on that. This is a legislative act to change the zoning classification. It is a special use permit, so if for some reason there was a decision now to set some limitations or restrictions, it could be done.
Okay.
However, you do have another mechanism, and the next step is a special use permit with a site-specific plan to evaluate the project in its entirety and make a decision of how you wish to, it deals with the topic of what you're talking about.
Okay. I mean, that's one. The other question is going to be, that's a giant set of trees there. And since that came up tonight with another neighborhood, what are we looking at right there? That's, I mean, do they know what percentage they're going to get rid of? What kind of tree? I mean, that's going to be an issue.
Again,
Yeah.
it would be part of a site-specific plan. If we were sitting here with just a rezoning request and not knowing that there's also a site plan coming in, it may be inappropriate to go establish some buffers along the perimeter of the townhomes. Particularly, yeah, it is commercial.
Right.
But you do have standards in your Unified Development Ordinance dealing with landscaping separation buffers between uses. And again, you have the site plan to consider conditions presented by the petitioner, and of course, of acceptance or negotiation or termination based on the evidence of the need for some additional conditions.
Okay.
I think I've answered that correctly, I hope, Mr. Attorney. He didn't correct me, so I guess I'm okay. Anything else?
I just don't want these concerns that citizens have expressed to be lost along the way. So whatever we need to do to make sure that these are incorporated, we need to do that, whether it's now or later.
Okay.
Because it's very easy to lose sight of what was in the
Yes.
notes and what we talked about.
The key is the recognition and the direction when we make the decisions. Okay?
So do we note that now or later with the site plan?
You haven't, I'm sorry. What do you want to answer?
Go ahead.
You have an opportunity with the site plan to address specific issues, and then you'll have more information. Right now, you have a blank slate technically with just the zoning classification. And this zoning classification is already established on the property, as I showed previously, and I'll be glad to go back to it. For an area right here is already zoned the same classification they're requesting. All we're doing is taking it out of the residential PUD, which does allow mixed use with a master plan amendment, and actually put it into a commercial classification. And then there's options within that zoning classification for similar mixed-use development, but it gets it into one-step process instead of multiple steps. And if I may be candid, you're cleaning up a big problem if we don't approve this, because you'll be totally confused between the residential PUD half and the commercial outline special use district, trying to figure us all out with a little arbitrary zoning line divided in two halves. This brings it all to one zoning classification.
I'm with you on that.
Okay.
I'm just trying to make sure that these concerns are incorporated and not lost along the way. Specifically, somebody talked about where we're going to walk our dogs. We talk about quality of life in Rolesville. I think that's important. And then the Coffee Lodge owner specifically expressed some concerns about not having a road come out on the side, like that not being a pass-through.
And
I
those
want to
are-
make sure those are incorporated in this, whatever decision we make.
Okay, and I think that's well noted for the upcoming case then.
Okay.
And as hearing this, and also was on the medical leave during this process, hearing that when I came back here.
Okay,
So
perfect.
we'll work on, get clarity to have be prepared when we get to that step for you. Okay?
I have one quick question. So basically, this, what is it, 7 acres? It's going to be classified as...
The whole property is 7 acres, but this is only about 4 and whatever I stated in the
But I'm saying the whole...
4.38.
Zone the same, basically.
Right.
It'll be one zoning classification under the entire property. We will no longer be split.
Sure.
Okay.
Danny?
Would you like this map to remain up here displayed? I'm sorry.
Anything else for chat for, okay, thanks, Danny. Couple organizational things before I open up public hearing. I think, Jack, you got something you want to say?
Yes. I want to address the board, let the board know I wish to recuse myself from voting on this. The owner of the property and myself are business partners in other ventures here in Rolesville. While I have no financial interest in this, in the event that a project does appear on that property, it's a possibility that I could be a marketing agent for it. So therefore, I would eventually make a profit. I am uncomfortable with this process, and I wish to recuse myself because of that. Mr.
I have no objections to that.
Attorney, did I state it properly?
You did, Mr. Commissioner.
I have no objections. Anybody have objections for? Okay, good. And I guess the other organizational thing with him excusing, we down to 3 commissioners, that's still quorum?
It is.
Okay, so we're okay with vote of 3. With that, I'll open up the public hearing. Danny, was anybody signed up on the sheet up there? Can you look for me?
Do not see any...
Bring the sheet to me if you
I
don't
got here a
mind.
little bit late and didn't sign up. You wanted me to sign?
That's all right, you don't have to sign up. Just bring me the sheet, Danny. Thanks.
Johnny Edwards, 333 Wade Avenue in Raleigh. I'm a civil engineer on the project and representing a master team. And hopefully I can answer some questions if you got them.
Very good.
Y'all gonna leave some trees?
I don't want to make it more confusing than it is.
You gonna leave some trees?
Actually, the trees that are there are tall, thin pines that will not produce a opaque buffer. So we're planning on clearing the trees and replanting to the town standards for opaque buffer.
I know there was a concern of some of the, many of the, I'm not sure if this is the time for it, but there was a lot of complaints about losing the trees. Just thought I'd tell you that.
On this property?
Mm-hmm. Because it all backs up to the townhouses. I don't know the name of the street there.
Talking
To
about
the left.
the commercial?
And that was a huge concern with almost every, on election time, I was knocking on doors. That was the biggest complaint, about losing all of the trees.
Well, trying not to be confusing, but it's hard to create an opaque buffer with tall pine trees. And if y'all prefer us to leave the trees, we can work around that and do supplemental planting. But right now, we're planning on doing a landscape buffer.
I'm just so tired of seeing all these trees cut down. But I mean, here's what it is. I mean, because it does leave for great privacy.
Yeah, I think we've learned recently if we want to make sure we're clear on what we want to have them to keep, we need to state it and have it documented in the
Short of going
permit.
out there and tying ourselves to a tree.
Yeah. I know we can add conditions to the zoning. That's what we do in the zoning. But without a site plan, it's hard to look at a tree, whether you're going to keep a tree or not. ain't it?
Right.
Well, two things. One, you are talking about a site plan issue. And Mr. Edwards, for the record, you did hear about the concerns and you recognize those as you come in. Secondarily, this really is, to me, this is a kind of a transitional conversation we're starting to have about this, and I think we need to note this for UDO conversation, because it feels like you're in transition a little bit on this topic.
But you know what, the UDO conversation's gonna come after this happens.
I reckon you're right. This, what I just said is about the UDO. I don't recognize that.
I just feel we're gonna have one great UDO when it's done and completed, but everything's gonna be changed. It's 2 years.
Well, again, Mr. Edwards has heard your concerns, and if you approve it, he'll develop a site plan.
Yeah.
You'll have an opportunity to review it and hear his rationale for what he is proposing, and discuss at that time.
Sounds good.
Yeah, I guess, don't this have natural area, have to have natural areas in it, or do not?
We've got, the main heavy buffer is on the south side of the property. That's where you have a 35-foot buffer. There is a 10-foot buffer on the west property. I forget what the buffers are, but if we can satisfy you or any others' concerns and meet the landscape ordinance and leave the trees, we'll be glad to do that.
Okay. Because I think we have the ability on a special use permit when it comes with the site plan to say you leave a certain amount of trees, can't we? Like 10%, 15%, 20%.
You can add conditions to the extent those are reasonably necessary for you to be able to make the findings of fact that you need to make, that it would meet the requirements of the ordinance.
So I think, Mr. Edwards, I think you're dead on it. You know, when we come back, we just need to have those percentages defined and what you're going to leave and all that kind of stuff, so we can see that.
Okay.
Is that kind of what I'm hearing from you guys? Y'all want to make sure we need to document it real well.
Okay.
Tree options.
Yeah. Good discussion. Anybody else? Paul?
Yep. Good.
There's some language for the motion.
All right, we're good.
Wasn't anybody else signed up, but is anybody here that want to speak on this matter? For or against, either one? Okay. All right. Hearing none, I'll close the public hearing and I'll leave it in the hands of the board how you want to move from here.
I make a motion to, I was looking for language. I make a motion to approve the zoning request change for this particular property. Was it MA 19-03?
And there's a consistency statement resolution.
And the consistency statement. And the, say that one more time? Commissioner's statement of consistency. As a resolution.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there a second? Did you second?
I'll second.
Okay. I didn't know if I heard you make a comment or something. So I've got a motion, a second. Is there any other discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
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 I think I counted 3. All right, and there is no opposed, so thank you very much. Appreciate it. We'll move on to the next one. This is the, it says here the third extension agreement between the town of Rolesville and Lafayette Village investors for the town-owned property. So who's going to lead this to start with? You, Kelly, or
Yes,
what?
sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, I'll turn it to you then.
So tonight, in front of you is a request in which I will turn it over to the developer to make formally to you to enter into the third agreement with Lafayette Investors, Inc. to have rights to the town property to continue their due diligence and negotiations with the town on a possible private public development for that area. The existing agreement expired December 31st, so now is the time to consider whether you would like to extend that. Inside the packet is the third extension agreement that has been drafted by the town attorney, Neil. Some key parts of this agreement is that it really starts to set some specific milestones of accomplishments and make sure that we are trying to stay on task of bringing back to you something that is tangible, including that there will be a detailed letter of intent that will state the conditions of sale and development agreement, and that the developer will provide all the final elevations of their proposed development design by February 29th, 2020. This agreement expires April 30th of 2020. I think in discussions with staff and the developer, it's our intentions that at that time, we are hoping that everything would be completed one way or another on this, and that you would have the ability to make a final decision on what comes forward to you, whether you want to proceed with this partnership or not. We've agreed also, just so you know, that we are intending to try and meet every other week to keep on this task. There are many things we do have to continue to discuss, but I think we're all committed to that if you approve the agreement tonight. So with that, I'd like to turn it over for a minute to Mr. Burnham to review his request for extension, if that's okay with you.
Yeah.
Members of the
State
board.
your name and address, if you don't mind, for the record.
Kenyon Burnham, 8120 Bentwood Place, Raleigh, North Carolina. Mr. Mayor, members of the board, staff, and members of the public, I really thank you guys for having me out here today. We are here to formally request an extension to our right to access agreement that exists over the town-owned property at the intersection of Young and Main Street. As Mr. Arnold did a great job explaining, we have made some great strides and progress over the last few months in working with you guys to create a development agreement we think will really bring a great revitalization to the township out here, and develop a fantastic layout for you guys as well. So over the last few months, we've engaged a lot of private property owners in the area to try to negotiate a few different agreements with them in order to pick up additional land that we deem necessary to the project. Beyond that, we've also created a development narrative describing in specific terms what exactly the project will look like in order to facilitate an eventual textual amendment to the overlay district there that we'll be pursuing. We've also created a deal sheet of concessions that we'll be requesting from the town in order to help alleviate initial market-based frictional concerns we have with the commercial components of this project, part of that development agreement that'll be presented to you guys at a later date, hopefully. We've created a financial forecast of the project in order to help determine and prove its feasibility to lenders, which is those are coming out strong as well. We've also created a preliminary layout and concept design and updated it to reflect the additional private property that we've now under contract. And I did hear that some people are interested in seeing that, so if you wouldn't mind me handing these out to you guys. Got 7 of them. So. So referencing, you'll see your layouts that I've given you there. You'll see to the north we've picked up 3 additional parcels of property owned by the Wilkins family. We have. Oh, I'm sorry. sorry. We've picked up 3 additional parcels of property owned by the Wilkins family to the north that have now been incorporated into the project itself. You'll see that's added 2 additional buildings to the project. I had my civil engineer sort of slap together the updated proposal or proposed layout that has resulted in. You'll see I've added a little X onto where one of the access points was delineated. He had forgotten to remove that, and I did not have time to have him do that before I got here today. But yeah, so that what you're looking at there is the updated layout that has come together as a result of this private property purchase. And I'll leave it to you guys for any questions. I should mention moving forward, so what we'll be accomplishing is within the request for extension as well. This is all codified in there, but a negotiation and finalization of a full development agreement, including relevant business points that is still being determined. That's within the next 4 months or so here. We'd like to finalize our full textual amendment to be reviewed and ratified by the town board, And then beyond that, determination as to the usage and ownership structure of the proposed public use building within the project, which is not colored blue within your layout, even though I just say that on here. I guess did not print out the colored version. I'm sorry about that. But
Where are the?
Did you say the X was? I'm sorry, Sheila.
So
What does that X mean?
the X is just, so my civil engineer, when he put together the updated layout, he forgot to take out, you can see it shows an access onto, I think that's South Main Street, or I'm sorry, onto Young Street there. That's no longer going to be the case with the new property that's been picked up. You just take it off of there.
Just be
So
one at the
it would just be the one access on, yep, on South Main, or on.
Can you point out which the 3 new buildings are on there?
Right.
So, so the two, just directly, if you'd like, yeah.
Is it these two?
These two right here, so this will be the flex building and then additional retail for the
Turn it the other way so the diamond comes in at the bottom. Yeah.
Or is this one here?
I'll make these two.
These two buildings, one retail spot, and then we're thinking apartments here, we might end up flexing that to an office space, obviously, this will be determined for our
South Main Street.
February 29th date.
No, South Main Street. This is,
And your name again?
Kenyon Burnham.
Mr. Burnham, my concern is in our bullet points that we have, which you can't see, are the milestones. It said 2 milestones need to be achieved by February 29th.
Mm-hmm.
They had a completion of a detailed letter of intent and the developer's final elevations, which is fine.
Yeah.
I want to make sure that the letter of intent includes what we're getting for our land that we're selling.
Oh, yeah. Yes, that will be, yeah, that will be.
Yeah, because there was some conversation about, maybe you'd build us a building, maybe you wouldn't.
Yeah.
I want to know, if you don't build a building, I want to know what we're selling this land.
Oh, yeah, no, that will be entirely included within that LOI, absolutely, yep.
The 2 questions I have, the first one, the new building that's going to be, I guess, furthest to the right and furthest to the top, I believe there's houses right there. There's a small well and stuff. Everything else, is there anything historic we'll be losing with that land?
Not that I'm aware of. No, nothing historic.
Is it something we can get checked on to make sure?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think we could probably engage Teresa.
I think what he's talking about, Keenan, there is a, I think what I used to call the Mert House. I'm not really sure if that's the proper name or not. You may know, Rodney, but it's a pretty old house.
Oh, the mayor's house.
It's it's 3 houses there.
Yeah.
It's the one in the middle is a really old one.
Okay. Yeah.
No, this is on West Young. So I think that's what is that what you're talking about?
Right, that's right.
So
okay, yeah, I'd have to look into that more. I actually was not aware of that. That's something I'll certainly investigate moving forward, and obviously.
And we'll direct him to we have done a review of the survey work that was done, and that is not attributed anywhere in the recent survey work, but we'll double check to make sure.
Yeah.
The other question is, it looks like the Rolesville Buzz building's still there, so that'll change your elevation a little bit.
Yeah, it'll change the presentation of it, but you'll see that on our updated elevations. That'll be coming through with our at our next checkpoint, I guess.
That would be right over
Right on the corner.
Right on that corner.
Mr. Mayor, you're referring to the old mayor's house, the white one to the. I'm trying to think.
Yeah. That one is not the old one though.
Okay.
It's the one between that one and the third one that is. I don't know how old that thing is, Rodney. Do you know? Yeah.
You're talking about the house that's got like a well type.
Yes. Yeah. That's what he's talking
That
about.
house was built in 1763, I think. That house was.
That's where Nanny Babbitt used to live.
Huh?
Nanny Babbitt.
Yeah.
That's the one I think Paul's talking about.
Right.
Yeah, I've written that down on here, so that's something I was not aware of, but certainly we'll absolutely look into that more.
Right down the street. Yep.
Yeah, it's 2 houses down.
Okay.
Well, appreciate.
Houses in this county, especially in the condition it's in.
Thank you, Betty. Anything else, Paul?
The other question I might have is, you're gonna have 2 deliverables by the 29th of February, but you're asking for an extension until April 30th. Is there a reason why from those on?
So, I mean, there might be something that Kelly can provide a bit more color on for me as I explain it. But so leading up to the 29th, we would have those 2 deliverables, and then there are additional, more I guess you could say, in-depth documentation that needs to be drawn up, and we also have to, provide additional. We have a phase 2 environmental investigation we need to complete as well, which will take a while. So, yeah, I think it was just meant to be basically a checkpoint within it. Yep.
All right.
Yeah, and I think from my perspective, we don't want to keep coming back for extensions. So we want to give them a little extra time to make sure.
We appreciate that. Thank you. Yep.
Make sure it
The
gets.
last one, though, right?
That's what we plan on.
Yeah. I certainly hope so. We're ready to get going on our end. Yeah.
Question, Paul?
I think that's it. That's all I have. Yep.
Jackie, Sheila, you
Okay,
hadn't
then.
asked anything.
They took my questions.
This is not a public hearing, so, it's not open for, public comments at this point in time. So it's really, Kelly, do you have anything else you want to add before I give it to the board?
No, I think you can anticipate that staff will be coming to you over the course of the next couple of months to do our check-ins with you also. So this just gives us guidance on how we want to proceed, but I will need guidance from you at points. So anticipate there will be some time asked for you to spend giving me some guidance on some negotiation points. So.
Yeah, I mean, that's, if you want to ask.
Oh, okay. So I just wanted to know, Kelly, is there any other interest coming up on this property right now? Because again, it's going to be held up for 4 months without entertaining any backup.
Yeah.
So has anybody inquired about this property?
Not to me, Michael. Have you had any? No.
Very good. I think the only thing that I would say, we don't make a decision on the extension. I think, and I think I've expressed this concern to you already personally, but I think it'd be a much nicer and cleaner project if we can get all that corner incorporated. So.
Yeah. That would be ideal. I would agree with you there, and we're hoping to work something out as well. But moving forward right now as it stands, just weren't able to come to an agreement on that front, unfortunately.
So I hope the board decide to give the extended time that's going to help you have more time. Let's get it as clean as we can there.
I agree. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
I have one other question.
Oh, sorry.
I know there was a public website created Is that still being updated?
It is. Yep, it's still being updated. So the once I have this new layout cleaned up by the civil engineer, who should be working on that right now, actually. That'll be, you'll see that uploaded to there as well. And if you'd like me to maybe write down, or I can just tell you, thefoxwoodgroup.com/Rolesville will bring you right to a public webpage for everybody's invited to come see. Of course, you can get pretty semi-frequent updates on there as we go through the process.
Perfect. Thank you, Kenyon.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Kelly, is that connected to our website under the development project? I guess it wouldn't really be a project yet.
I don't believe it is, but we could probably look into it.
That might be
just
a good way, easier way for folks to get to it.
Good.
Thanks.
Good point. All right, what's the wishes of the board on this matter?
I move to approve the third extension request based on the recommendation from staff and the verbiage in the agenda packet.
Got a motion? A second.
I'll second.
Got a motion, second. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 And there is no opposing, so thank you very much. Appreciate it. That's really all the business items on the agenda. Thank you for coming. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Does the staff have anything they want to matter they want us to bring up? You got one thing, Amy? Okay.
Thank you, Mayor and Mayor, Town Board. Just one quick thing I wanted to mention. As you know, we started the town's strategic planning process last month. You all had a day-long retreat, December 14th. Coming out of that meeting, our next event is coming up on January 14th. We're holding some citizen input sessions here in this building at the community center at 514 Southtown Circle. They're fairly brief sessions, about an hour apiece. So we're inviting members of the public to come in to one of those sessions. One is being held at 9:30 in the morning and the other at 7 p.m. in the evening. So our consultant will be here to facilitate and obtain some input from the citizens for the town's strategic plan. That consultant will also be meeting with town staff during the day and that same day. And then following up to that, just a reminder to you, after all that input is obtained, you all will be meeting again for another day-long retreat to help finalize that strategic plan on January 24th. So I want to make sure you have that on your calendars.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. I know we got a couple of our media folks in attendance tonight, Paul for one, and Debian out there, and Wake Weekly. So I really want a good public turnout for this. We got two opportunities, one in the morning, one in the evening. I want to reach out to the public. Let's give you a chance to give your input on our plans. So I really want the public to turn out. So you guys get the message out for me, if you don't mind, to turn out for this event. So appreciate it, Amy. Any other staff information?
Just two quick items, Mr. Mayor and Town Commissioners. It's 2020, so not only another decade, but that means it's time again for the census to take place. So Wake County's kind of reached out. They're starting up an awareness campaign, and they've reached out to all the municipalities to kind of do our part to kind of get the word out and start broadcasting and promoting that the census is coming, just to let people know that stand up and be counted for Rolesville, because businesses will look at that census data as they decide where to locate facilities, and developers, when they're thinking about where to plan their homes and stuff, they're looking at census data. So there'll be more to come on that in the next month. The U.S. Census sends out postcards and starts sending out information in March, but it'll be in April where we'll be able to start filling out the census online and or on a postcard. But here's some quick materials so far. So they've furnished some marketing materials that we're going to be handing out around town. And I'll plan to speak to the Chamber of Commerce.
Thank you.
That's the only one we get. And Michael, you intend to, if we may, board, we'd like to spend about 5 more minutes in the meeting in February to do a review and tell you exactly how it's going to work and everything that's being promoted. So we just wanted to prep you a little bit tonight.
Yep.
5 minutes when? Tonight?
No, in a month.
Okay.
Yep.
Good.
Yep. Just to tell you a little bit more about it and kind of our social media plans and what we'll do on the website and things like that. And another thing, I think, yeah.
Can we emphasize for the census, because I think, I hear about this, obviously every 10 years we hear about this, right? But I don't think always communities understand why it's important,
right,
and how it impacts services. So if we could do something around that, it really does have a huge impact on the services that your communities receive. And if people can understand it to their level, I think they're more apt to get involved.
Right.
Yeah. All the money that your community will miss out on. Mm-hmm. And it's really an ongoing thing. It's just, the census never stops. They're always working.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Getting prepared for the next 10 years, so it's always something.
Yep. And then the last thing I just wanted to mention is the Chamber of Commerce hosts these business after hours every couple months, and they offer that up to members. And I believe that it might have been a recommendation from the mayor, or one of the board members, or the town manager to have the town participate in one of these, where we can kind of showcase who we are and what the town does for residents and to the business community. And kind of, it's an opportunity to kind of network a little bit. It's a casual environment. We can pick a location of our choosing somewhere in town. So that's something that we can plan for maybe in April, May, or June. And so I just wanted to throw that out there, and then I'll be in touch with maybe trying to find some good dates that would work for everybody.
Sounds good.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. That's it.
Sounds great.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Michael. Anybody else? got anything you want to share? I'm not requiring you to share.
I'll keep it brief. We did pass out the Rolesville Rec. This is a new guide for the winter and spring of 2020. So it's all the program and offerings that we have from January through June. So take a look at it. We do have hard copies for citizens to come by Town Hall and Parks and Recreation office to get that has the special events that are going on, as long as other programming needs as well on that end. So just want to get that out to you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think you made some good hires. Appreciate it. I think you got a good thing going over there. All right, anybody else? You done your thing, Chief, so. All right. Town manager.
Only one thing. Last week I informed you that we were informed that we did reach 2 positive recommendations for our LAP grants. We have not done anything publicly on that because we're going to let Campo take the lead on that. They should probably roll that out by the end of the week or early next week because they're going to start the public hearing process January 17th. And again, that is a requirement since it's federal money. They hold a 30-day federal public comment period. So as soon as they release that, and I just checked again, they have not said anything, we'll put something out. We'll probably do a news blast on Friday to let folks know that's where our status is and such like that. Obviously, we'll be interested in letting folks know on Main Street our status also. And just a reminder, if that all goes through, then final recommendations would be approved by the Campo board into February. Then you'll see the paperwork from Campo to us, to you, for consideration probably in that March-April timeline. And then that officially really gets things rolling. So you'll see some regular report out to me on that. But very good news on our behalf for that. So that's really all I have at this point.
Yeah, that was very, very good results scoring. So, and I know a lot of people put a lot of effort in making that happen. So thanks everybody that did that. So appreciate it. Town attorney, y'all may notice the one we have tonight don't look exactly like the one that's been here for the last few months. David York has been our attorney. I asked Dave a month or so ago, how long has he been here with us? And we couldn't really remember. It's probably about 4 or 5 years, somewhere.
2014.
14. So that was about right then, about 5 years. So he's been a long-term serving attorney for us, and he January 1st went to work with City of Raleigh. I won't make any more comments on that other than he went to work for the City of Raleigh. But
it was a good opportunity for
it's
him.
good. Yeah, thank you. You always know what to say. I guess it was a good opportunity for him. But he actually left a law firm that we have under contract, which is Dave's Neal Law Firm. Dave has been he's been filling in off and on for, I don't know, probably the whole time, many years, and
15 years.
About 15 years off and on. So so Dave is filling in now with our gap, and we appreciate you coming, David. We really appreciate you stepping in there. So anything you want to add, go right ahead.
It's a privilege and an honor, and I look forward to working with each one of you and being able to make this a larger part of my practice. I see Gary McConkie in the back. When I was a freshman to attorney, I was working with him in the town of Knightdale. And I've worked on behalf of the City of Raleigh, town of Stoneville, Guilford County, Moore County. But this will be the first time that essentially I'm doing it on a regular basis rather than as a special counsel.
So what happens when we need special counsel?
Well, you have an engagement with Fox Rothschild.
Okay.
We happen to have 935 attorneys scattered across the United States.
Gotcha.
So Karen Kemerate in my office, and she is a land use lawyer who focuses in public utilities, has volunteered as of today, to be my number 2, and my only worry is that you would like her more than you like her.
Not a chance.
We know you're a lot of fun at parties, so.
Yeah,
it'll be good.
there you go. Well, appreciate it, Dave. We got a lot of work, as you know, we got a lot of work going on that's going to require your attention, and I think, I don't know all of your experience, but I know some, and I know you're really good at land use, and I think even Dave York relied on you on some items, so really appreciate that. Any report, anything else you want to add?
No, Mr. Mayor. I did notice that we did have an agenda item for a closed session, and I don't know whether I placed that motion in front of anyone, but it's my.
We'll get
all right, good job.
Yeah, we had you covered this time.
Thank you. One time only.
One time only. All right, next one is a mayor. I don't have really a lot to report. I think Kelly mentioned the Campo thing. So I'm going to ask the board if they have anything they want
I had a question about the chamber report. Were they not able to be here?
Yeah,
Did they send a report?
Rachel called me today. She said that she was busy, so
Okay, so we don't have a report.
yeah, so we don't have anything.
Gotcha.
But I do want to say, I want, and I know you guys are just getting started in your new assignments and haven't really probably met with your committees that much, but I would like a quick report from each of you, very quick report each meeting. Each business meeting, monthly business meeting. So, Jackie, that would be you from Public Safety and Economic Development and Planning Department and the Parks and Rec Board. So I would like that going forth to kind of you guys have a very quick 1-page update for us. So what do you have tonight? Anybody got anything?
I have a quick update on economic development.
Okay.
Actually. So I did actually get a chance to meet with what we call in our committee with Michael and Rachel. We did get a chance to meet. And really what I'm doing right now is kind of plowing through the economic development strategic plan. Because obviously we're going to have a lot of things going on. So really trying to meet with those stakeholders to kind of see what's been done, because I think when you come into any situation, it's best to ask more questions and try to provide more answers. So we have been doing that. I've met with them. And also tomorrow, I think Michael forgot to mention this, there's a session, or Thursday, with, is it Raleigh Chamber? Or Greater Visitors Bureau. It's all kind of connected to the chamber. But they have I guess it's kind of an economic summit that I'm going to be attending in the afternoon. But in the morning, they have like a session where hotel development folks are in town. So we're going to be, Rachel and Michael are going to be meeting with them, and I'm going to be at the afternoon portion. But really trying to get Rolesville's name out in the community, continuing to do that, the great work that Michelle Medley and team did even before we came on board. So really doing that, but going through that economic development strategic plan and kind of going down and doing what they've told us. We pay consultants to come in and tell us, hey, this is what you need to do. So we're going to make sure we're sticking to that and doing those things. So I appreciate you, Michael. For our initial meetings, I'm learning a lot. So looking forward to doing this. I think it's going to be a great effort.
Great. Anybody else got anything?
I mean, I met real quick with our town manager regarding Parks and Rec to get some answers. I owe JG a meeting. I know he's looking forward to that. And then the first PARAB meeting will be on the 22nd. So I should have an update for that after the meeting.
Great.
Yeah. Ronnie, my committee, we haven't met since the last meeting as far as the quarterly meeting with the public safety. But going back to the Veterans Memorial, the Disabled American Veterans, Woodrow Wilson Chapter 1 that we had on Veterans Day here in November. I forget the gentleman's name, the commander of the local post there. But he and I were talking, and he said this event was made possible by a grant that was available at that time. I told him that I would make the board aware of that. It can't cost but so much. Why can't we have a line item in our budget where we do this every year, whether grants available or not? It was a very impressive service.
I'll follow up on that then, Jackie.
Mr. Pageant.
Okay.
Eugene Pageant.
Mr. Pageant, I'd like to see us consider a line item. It can't cost that much. You know, this needs to be done every year.
Good.
You could look around and see appreciation on the families, on the servicemen as well as the families.
Yeah.
That were represented there.
I think that's very noble. Yeah, follow up and we'll.
Okay.
I mean, when is budget time? A couple months, ain't Amy? So you know. Starts
tomorrow. Well, Amy,
got
would
tomorrow,
you make that a
Jack.
priority?
But thank you. And anybody else? Michelle?
Yeah, my group didn't meet last month.
Oh.
But you know, were you supposed to get a copy of the UDO? Danny? No? Robin? Was there a copy of the UDO that you have available for any or all of us?
Once the board has adopted the codification, it will go live, so it'll be via our website. You'll have a link directly to it, and it's sectioned, so you can go to each section.
Okay, it's coming soon though, right? Okay, that's all. All right, cool.
I
That's
thought
what I'm
we
waiting
were
to see.
given the UDO one time in a
But they
booklet
did
form.
something, but this is more,
Updated.
yes.
Yeah, I've got
Thank
one
you.
on my desk that said Rolesville UDO. I was wondering.
No, this is,
No, I mean since I came back. Okay, no.
So just also last time I said, I just want to thank I want to thank the board for working through the holidays on getting the planning board and the recreation board staffed. Appreciate you doing that, y'all. The interviews and all. Thank y'all for doing that. Also filling the commissioner seat. I know y'all worked through some of the holidays during that time, so thank you for that. I think we're getting the year off really well, so appreciate all that. And with that says,
wait, we have 3 other people that were picked to be on the continuation of the boards. Should we introduce them? You have Derek over there, Davion.
yeah, I guess.
Just thank them for their time that they're going to invest in helping us.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about on the planning board.
Planning and Parks and Rec.
If you want to introduce them, that'd be
Well,
fine. But
okay, I just
we
said one.
we approved everything earlier.
Mhm. So I know for welcome to the planning board would be Davian Cross, who's sitting back there with the black jacket on. Welcome. Thank you for offering to volunteer your time and
Yep.
help out with the board. And
Yeah,
go ahead.
welcome back to Derek Verstegen, Parks and Rec.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
Now you know you guys got to come to all meetings now. There you go. There you go. There you go. Well, thanks, Michelle. Appreciate that. And we have one board that we're still working on, the Board of Adjustments, and we're almost there. I think we're one or two short. So with that, Paul.
All right, make a motion to enter closed session pursuant to NC General Statute 143, 318.11A6 to consider the qualifications of an employee or prospective employee.
Okay, got a motion?
Second.
Mayor, may I ask for an amendment of that? So with the advent of televising, we're taking advantage of, if there's no action to be taken, to adjourn into executive session so that television can go off and everybody can leave. So I would ask that you amend that to adjourn into executive session.
Okay, adjourn to executive session. All right. Make a motion to adjourn to executive session pursuant to NC General Statute 143, 318.11A6 to consider the qualification of an employee or prospective employee.
You got a motion, a second?
Second.
All right, make sure I understand. This new process, we won't come back into session after the meeting, so there's no need for anybody really to stay.
No action.
So, you know, we won't be coming back into regular session to adjourn at the end. So, appreciate everybody coming. Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we'll go into Executive session. Thank you.